All right. Good evening, beautiful people. My name is Anna Nyakana at Nyazuri, and I have the honor of introducing Mr. Jimmy Love of Uptown Records here live at DITC Studios. We're about to chop and get into it. How you feeling, Jimmy?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great.
All
Happy
right.
to be next to you, beautiful young lady. Anna Icona.
Anna Nyakana.
Nyakana. Okay.
We got it, though.
All right.
We
I'm going to get it
build.
right
Yeah, you
before
are.
this interview is over.
I appreciate you.
All right. I appreciate you more.
All right. Well, I appreciate you appreciating me. We're just going
All
to
right.
giving each
All
other
right.
roses.
All right.
Because that's how it goes. You know, we need to appreciate one another. True appreciation means you value someone. You're grateful for their essence. You're grateful for their being who they choose to be. It's a choice to show up as you in this world. It's a choice to take the actions every day to create some sort of change or to pivot and get out of your own way. Right?
That's right.
So
That's right.
why don't you tell us a little bit about how you pivoted or the adjustments that you made as you started to journey creating Uptown Records?
Well, I'm just going to give you a little journey.
All right.
I started Uptown Records with Andre Harrell. All right. And, right here in the Northeast Bronx. It was named after the Northeast Bronx because we had all the fly drug dealers, all the fly beautiful women. We had the professors that came from Uptown. It was a upper middle class neighborhood when I was living there, Co-op City. So
Shout out to Co-op City.
Shout out to Edenmore
Yeah.
Project.
I used to walk around Co-op City like I knew what I was doing because I'm from
Yeah.
Stanford, but
Oh,
I used to
okay.
just roam around. I
That's
don't know
right
how.
up the-
Nobody
that's right
told
up
me.
the block. That's right up
Nobody
the block.
told me, but everybody was kind to me. So.
But it was nice. It is probably still is nice though.
Yeah.
But so I went to Truman High School.
All right.
And Andre Harrell used to come up there he went to Hughes, and he would come uptown, and I would tell him, I was like, my high school is the shit. We got 25 Olympic-sized gyms, Olympic-sized swimming pools.
Wow.
We have a football field, baseball field.
Y'all had resources.
A planetarium, excuse me. We had a public library in the school, so we had a lot of resources there.
Wow.
But more than that, we had all the fly people going there. The fly women went there. A lot of people came from downtown to uptown to go to that school. They sent their children to that school, you know, so they had the cars. We had the cars and everything like that the whole time. And a lot of the, you know, and I hate to keep saying this, I always say this in my interviews.
What's that?
A lot of the fly drug dealers came from uptown. You know what I mean? Like a lot they came from the Northeast Bronx. A lot of their children went on to do other things, but they set the path for it all.
Yeah.
And they set the path for me and Andre. So we designed our whole style after uptown drug dealers and basketball stars that were professional. You know, you had the music stars, but we moved downtown to Harlem. So in Harlem, we went to Harlem World where we met Teddy Riley. Teddy Riley was a
Shout out to
14-year-old prodigy.
Yeah.
So he had made the record Lottie Dottie at that time and the show. And Andre got with this cat named Gusto that had the rooftop. So when Andre got with him, you know, Teddy was a part of that. And we got with Teddy, and then we wound up moving to Brooklyn,
Okay.
4th Avenue and Warren Street. And we had made the Uptown's Kicking It album. Uptown's Kicking It album, from that hailed Heavy D and the Boys. Heavy D and the Boys was our #1 record, the first time #1 record we had on Universal Records.
Okay.
And my man is here that started it and A&R'd all of our records at first, Kurt Woodley.
All right.
You know,
Yeah.
Kurt Juice Woodley, he A&R'd Heavy D and the Boys. He A&R'd Finessa Sinquist. He found Mary J. Blige along with Jeff Redd. You know, he did A&R Cypress Hill at Columbia. He A&R the Fugees.
Yes.
So, you know, and all of the Uptown acts at first, though. So, you know, Father MC, Heavy D, Mary, So For Real, just a lot of the different acts he A&R'd it. And we started at 1755 Broadway.
Okay.
So at 1755 Broadway, 1992, here comes Puff Daddy in our life. Puff Daddy was my intern. He was Kurt's intern, and he was there for about a year. Then the next year, he was the VP of A&R.
Look at that.
And the next year, he was damn near running the joint.
Yeah.
And the next year, he had to get fired.
Yeah.
And
He
then
was going
started
higher.
Bad Boy. But his first records, you know, Biggie and Craig Mack, I worked his first 2 records at radio for him and set his whole company up for him.
Okay.
So those records became smash hit records. They were both under Uptown Records. You know what I mean? And during that time, we started developing. Mary was on our second album, My Life. Puffy was totally in charge of that. So he used Mary a lot to set up his Bad Boy records.
Yes.
You know, he made records with Biggie and Mary. Faith wrote on Mary's records. And he did a lot of stuff with Mary. At the same time, she was still on Uptown. But then at the same time, we were at the end of the Jodeci, you know, our whole relationship with Jodeci. And we had only got 2 albums out of them. But they were 2 double platinum albums. They were incredible. And cut to New York on MTV Unplugged. So we did an MTV Unplugged.
I missed that show.
It was the first time MTV had allowed a record company to bring all their acts on and
That's
perform
incredible.
Unplugged. And it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. And, you know, we had Father MC, we had Christopher Williams, who comes from Uptown. He comes from the Northeast Bronx. Me and him come from Eden Wall and the Valley. So we come from the same neighborhood. He went to Truman as well. And so many people went to Truman.
Truman birthed some legends, I
yeah,
see.
They had,
y'all had all the resources.
Smooth B, we had Smooth B from Nice and Smooth went there. We had Raheem from Grandmaster Flash went there. You know, we had all the Breakouts crew, and he went there. You know, just a lot of people who just went to Truman High School. A lot of artists came out of there. And, you know, so we all from Uptown. Vincent Davis at the time, he had Ventertainment.
Okay.
And Ventertainment had Keith Sweat. And Keith Sweat, you know, they went on tour, and he was our competition. And he lived next door to this kid called Punkin. And Punkin made this record called Punkin and the All-Stars. And it had Andre, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde on there. They had LL on there. They had a bunch of people on the record. And they lived next door to one another. So there was a whole Uptown constituency coming from up here. You know what I mean?
It was like a creative melting pot, really.
Yeah. So, like, and everybody that you was with or around wanted to be in hip-hop.
Yeah.
So everybody wanted to be part of the scene and get involved. Get involved. And so we moved on. Kurt Woodley, myself, Andre Harrell, and Kathy Moore, and, you know, Alonzo Brown, who was Mr. Hyde. We all went to Lehman College.
Okay.
So when we went to Lehman College, you know, we were all involved with this student government. And in student government,
y'all infiltrated and started running it. Okay.
We ran the entertainment part. So during that time, we bought Prince, we bought Miles Davis, we bought Chaka Khan, we bought Biz Markie and the whole Juice crew. We bought Eric B. and Rakim up there. You know what I mean? We was on fire. And we brought all these people up there, and all you had to do was write a report about how good it was. You didn't have to turn in no money. I hope I ain't going to jail.
I will say this because you have such an illustrious and such a historical journey, and it's not over, right? This is all foundational. Yet I want to quickly pause. You said two really important things that stood out to me. One was the fact that, shout out to Truman High School.
Absolutely.
Y'all actually had resources, right? For instance, I grew up in Stamford, Connecticut. I went to a school that was low budgeted. We had no resources. So it created a state of survival. Everybody was scraping. Everybody was doing what they needed to do, even if it was backhanded or it was out of disloyalty, to survive. Brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor. Yet y'all had the resources at your school and actually created such a utopia because y'all were empowered by the arts. Y'all were empowered by athletics. Y'all were empowered by your community, right? So with that said, how is it that you feel that the complete opposite, such as students who would have gone to a school that didn't have those resources, how would they have been able to see that the potential was actually still out there without it being in their face? Because that was something y'all already had apparent to you, right? It was obvious.
The school was, but the resources when you left school on the street, we had to have each other. And we fed off of one another. Like, for instance, when Breakout started his crew, you know, Funky 4 plus one more, and then you had Grandmaster Flash, you know, in the Furious 5.
Yeah.
Raheem was part of the Funky 4 plus one more. And he was the dopest MC, period. You know, and they had to put him down with Grandmaster Flash to simmer Melly Mel off. You know what I mean? And Raheem was a great addition to Grandmaster Flash. But so you also have Smooth B, who wrote for New Edition. You know what I mean? And nobody knows that. But these guys, Nice and Smooth, they've done a lot of things. And also, you know, I had a company called Polo Ground. I had Anthony Hamilton. I had Greg Nice sing on Anthony Hamilton. Kurt had Greg Nice sing on Mary's records. So, you know, we all were in tune with one another, you know what I mean, all the time. And it was a competitive thing, but it was a brotherhood as well. Like, Christopher Williams lived with me before, you know what I mean?
Well, that's brotherhood.
Chris was getting women since he was 11 years old.
Oh.
Like, he's a pure Adonis. So we had Chris, and then we had Al B. Shore. And Al was the first pop record that we had that went #1 at Uptown Records, and he opened up the world to us. And then after that, everything else came behind it. You know what I mean?
So what I heard that you shared was that those of you that had the resources shared it and gave it to those that didn't, and you ensured that there was equity.
Right. It was competitive, but it was like, you know, we was learning from one another. We didn't necessarily work with one another in the future all the time.
Right.
But, you know, we shared information about the business.
And knowledge is key.
About the business.
Yeah.
And about, you know, traveling and, you know, because a lot of people went before us.
Right.
Like Grandmaster Flash and those guys went before us, you know, and they were going around the world, but they came back. They had leopard skin boots on and Indian hats and shit. and they changed their whole style up. And then Run DMC took the whole style and
took
and
the
made
laces out and
Took
everything. Right?
everything.
Yeah.
The hat, the blazer, all that is some Bronx shit.
Yeah.
That's some Hevalo, roller rink. You know, that's how we dressed in the Bronx. You know what I mean? In Manhattan, in Harlem. Yeah. So we were very close to Harlem, and Harlem is the Renaissance. It's the pivotal point of black life in the world. So, you know, we always wanted to mimic what was coming out of Manhattan. You know what I mean? So that's how we started moving down to Harlem, the rooftop. You know, when we started doing stuff with Kool Moe Dee and his crew and just moving on. But all of that prepared me for what I'm doing now. And what I'm doing now, right now, is making films.
All right, let's talk about it.
Yeah, okay. I'm doing the Tupac Afeni documentary right now.
Incredible.
Right now, I work with Alan Hughes. He did Minister Society, Dead Presidents, Book of Eli. You know, we caught a brick with Broken City. You know, we did that. Mark Wahlberg and Russell Crowe.
Okay.
So, you know, I'm doing that right now. We're doing an Arnold Schwarzenegger doc right now, and that's on FX. And we're doing a Marvin Gaye story, and I'm doing that with Jimmy Iovine, Dr. Dre, and Alan Hughes right now. So
as a producer and as a filmmaker, what's most important for you to convey to your audience, for people that are going to view the stories that you're sharing?
The truth. I stand on the truth.
Yeah.
I'm doing the Uptown documentary. Is the truth. I'm the source. I created it, named it with my man Kurt Woodley, Andre Harrell. We all from up here, and I just want to tell the truth.
Yes.
Because there's going to be many stories, though. There's a million Tupac stories right now.
Of course.
So, you know what I mean? There's going to be a million Biggie Small stories. But which one
There'll be a million,
is telling
you
the
know,
truth?
stories about you, about myself. Yet it's important that we actually create our own stories, and we're the ones who share it. We're the ones who share our narrative versus leaving it into the hands of those that don't truly know us, or who want to put us in a certain spotlight, or just give a shadow of what really is, or take you out. Yeah, of course. You already know.
Like BET is doing Uptown Story. They were doing that with Andre. He was fighting for me to be the executive producer on it, and then he passed away. And then they just it's just up in the air now.
Okay.
You know? I never thought that BET was the right place for him to do it anyway. You know what I mean? Because they just never get it right. I thought that the New Edition story was good. It was good because of the music. And we remember New Edition, not because it was shot well. It wasn't no breakthrough shit. If you look at the Defiant Ones, we did the Defiant Ones, a 4-part series on HBO. We won a Grammy for it. That's breakthrough shit right there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so.
And it's important that you did that because it lets everybody know who's here in the room. It lets everybody know who's viewing here that it's possible.
Right.
So thank you for being that representation. It inspires me. Everyone that you name dropped is everyone that inspired me in the 90s growing up. You started Uptown Records when I was born. So that's 35 years, all right? I mean, I look at it. That's 35 years. I grew up under all of that era.
Okay.
So thank you for choosing to do what you did. And I know we have to wrap up soon, yet this is a legacy that you've created that you're continuing now, right? From the record industry now into the film industry. There was something really important you said when we first began speaking, and it was talking about how everybody was hustling. You had fly hustlers. Everybody was a hustler.
Hustlers,
right?
And the fly hustlers were educated. They weren't no dumb niggas.
Right.
Like they were educated. They were like, they went to college.
Yeah.
They traveled the world. You know what I mean? They knew the right suit to wear, the right jewelry to wear, you know, and they did their thing. But, you know, they were intelligent.
Right.
So we looked up to them. That was something we looked up to, you know, and we bridged that with, like, the professors that hung out with us. Because when we went to the Red Parrot, everybody went there. Like, the professors, the business people, the bankers. And that's what happened with Uptown. We attracted a lot of people that weren't from that life, but they came and contributed different information. Some people was from Westchester, some people was from all over the country. A lot of people went to Howard University. I hired a lot of people from Howard that worked under me and Andre. And but you know, they contributed different things with their backgrounds. You know what I mean?
And they knowledge shared.
We had a lawyer by the name of Gary Jenkins. He's a Columbia lawyer. He's brilliant, and he passed away. He was the general manager of Uptown. Okay. And he exposed us to Martha's Vineyard. We went to Martha's Vineyard and then decided we didn't like Martha's Vineyard and went to the Hamptons. And so that's where the white parties started at, in the Hamptons. And at our white parties, dinner parties, we had Bruce Willis sitting there, Demi Moore, Biggie, his crew. So we bridged a lot of different people together. And that's what Uptown Records was about. Yeah. Being black excellence, knowing that you can come from somewhere and be great. And you don't got to change up. You got to know how to present yourself. Because Andre used to do this thing with people, and I'm going to wrap it up after this, that we would go out to dinner with 30, 40 people, and he would make people stand up and say a little something about yourself. And you'd be surprised how many people can't do that.
Wow.
You know, and that's what he taught. He taught the confidence for you to be able to express who you are, where you come from, without being ashamed of it, and progress from that. And that's what black excellence. Matter of fact, we invented the word black excellence.
Well, thank you.
And ghetto fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you for all of it. Thank you for choosing to show up the way that you did, and for showing us that, if you can hustle on the street, you can run a business.
Absolutely.
Right? If you can move that dope, you can move those stocks and that crypto.
Right.
Right? Understand the legends that have come before you so that you can become a legend in your own right. So thank you. It's been a pleasure to speak. And continued success to you as well, all right?
All right.
All right.
Okay. Got that firm handshake.
I appreciate you.
All right.